I'm going to go in this video to try to break down everything I saw, how it should have been handled, key points that might have been missed out. I got to watch this video from the YouTube channel Midwest Safety. The link to the video is in my description. So here's the officers on scene that they got multiple calls of people being stabbed on the river. The second those cops got there, everybody's hollering and screaming and shouting and throwing out all sorts of information. Being one of the officers, I would have told everybody to shut the fuck up, because now it's an active stabbing scene. Well, everybody has learned to shut up, literally lock it up, and for us officers, because if I was one of them, to individually figure out, okay, one by one or just one person, who here has been stabbed. If everybody starts talking, I'm going to tell them I cannot render aid and get everybody that has been stabbed to safety until you guys shut the fuck up. Till one person finally pipes up and says, all right, these 3 victims right here, they've been stabbed. Great. Oh no, don't get up. Stay in your tube. We're going to drag you up. So of course officers carry a lot of gear, and generally people that go tubing on the water has rope, so that way their people stay together as a convoy. Literally a floating raft of tubes. So I would have started getting that rope and putting the rope around each tube. Or let's say the one person laying in their tube doesn't have rope on their tube. I would have had that person transferred to a tube that's got rope. And I would have started instructing everybody there, grab the rope and let's pull and push this person up. Those that can grab the rope to pull, the other people that can go ahead and push the tube up the embankment so that way we can get them to safety. After that's cleared, and they now instructed us officers that there's people up the river that has also been stabbed, let's say the person obviously, AJ, that had his chest cavity down to his stomach slit open. I would immediately said, okay, you guys, you officers handle this area. I'm going to go up there. When you guys are free, come join me. And that's obviously when paramedics are there, then obviously the other officers can join us in the battle to save the rest of these kids. So here I am with AJ. All right, so now I'm seeing a bunch of people shouting and screaming and yelling. Well, that's not helping because AJ is going into shock and everybody's yelling. Typically, that's going to spike people's adrenaline. They're going to be freaking out. If there's a victim that's bleeding out, this person's freaking out even more because everybody's yelling. So I'm going to go ahead and assert my law enforcement dominance and control the scene and tell everybody to shut the fuck up. And if everybody keeps yelling and screaming, I'm going to go ahead and grab their shoulder and pull their head towards me and say, hey, you need to shut the fuck up. Everybody here needs to shut the fuck up so that way I can get control of the situation. This is not looking good on AJ's part because now he's freaking out even more. Everybody needs to stay calm. Obviously, I understand it's a stabbing. Y'all have only seen this in video games and on YouTube videos, but you've never seen it in person. Now that everybody has literally shut the fuck up, I would have seen that, okay, these people have at least a towel or two over AJ's wound. By that point, I've realized that this towel is, if not damp, soaked at least. While AJ's body is still in the water, that water is not hot. It's not the hot springs. So his body temperature now is going to be in the critical levels because his body is soaked. It is cold. It is going through cold river water. So it's constantly bringing his body temperature down while he's going into shock. His heart is not pumping quick enough, or he's got a very weak heartbeat, which is not pulling all the blood throughout his body to keep it warm. His body organs have now been failing. By this second, I'm not losing milliseconds of AJ's life. So I'm going to tell them, like let's say for instance, if there is rope on AJ's inner tube, and if there's not rope, I would instruct them to get rope for his tube. And I would tell them, you go ahead and make as much rope as you can. We're going to drag him up the river to the embankment onto the road where our patrol cars are because guess what? He's in cold water. His body's going into shock. His heart is not working like it should to pump the blood to keep him warm. And those towels on him is soaking up all that river water, which possibly is like literally building up bacteria. The quicker we get him out of the water and into the embankment, the quicker of the time we can save AJ's life so that way when paramedics get here, he can be saved. So I'm going to instruct everybody to go ahead and pull the rope on AJ's tube while everybody else gently pushes because now you're going against the current. So it's going to be a lot harder for everybody to pull and for the people in back of the tube to push. Everybody working together is going to be able to get him to safety as soon as possible. And I'm already realizing this 5 minutes into the video. That's how crazy this is. And this whole time I've already broke this down to you. I'm already asking myself, why haven't these officers or anybody found some common sense to go, wait, holy shit, yeah, we should probably get him out of the water. The water's cold, guys. I'm not a paramedic, I'm literally not an EMT, not fire, not law enforcement, but this is all some common sense. And obviously when somebody has come across a situation where you're in person, your buddies have been stabbed or some random people have been stabbed and you're there to see what's going on, yeah, everybody's adrenaline is going through the roof, so nobody's thinking straight. everybody literally has tunnel vision. Especially the dumb fuck in the video that said, oh my god, he's gonna die, that's it, he's gone. The girl giving AJ chest compressions for as long as she did is definitely a hero. Now I'm trying to keep everything in chronological order, so now I've got to backtrack real quick. All these kids decided to go out to the river to go ahead and go river tubing. That's just one group. I don't recall if there was any adults there that was accompanying these kids. And how they got alcohol is beyond me. Obviously, kids can't buy alcohol, so obviously an adult bought them alcohol. That's definitely a big questionable thing in this video. That all right there ties into everything. Which means whatever adult bought these kids alcohol also needs to be held accountable with the 70-year-old that went to prison for this type of shit. Because more than likely these kids wouldn't have acted this way if they weren't feeling loose and suddenly mighty tough while they're intoxicated. And I mean heavily intoxicated. The 70-year-old, and I believe his wife was there at the time with him when they all decided to find a group. And generally, if I recall, everybody there that was in those two groups, right? The kids and all of them, they know each other. The senior citizens that were in a different group, I believe they don't know each other. Unless obviously they came with their wives or their friends, but generally they don't know each other. These senior citizens just wanted to go water tubing like anybody else. They wanted to just, hey, what's going on, guys? Oh, you're going water tubing? Yeah, let's go water tubing together. So no offense to them, they're all old. They don't want any bullshit in life. They just want to get out on the open river, water tube, and go enjoy their life. Here's where things take a serious turn. Now remember, those kids that an adult or quite a few adults bought them alcohol for, those kids are, if I recall seeing in the video, over the legal limit. And they're fucking kids. They shouldn't be drinking anyways. Generally, your state laws, depending on what state you live in, if a parent offers their kid alcohol, the kid is allowed to drink, but it has to be at the parent's house and the kid cannot leave that property until they are sober. These kids are in public display of being, drinking alcohol. It's all on video. They got tall cans and shit. Slurred speech, they're rowdy, they're being stupid. I don't recall because it's such a long video and I'd have to go back and forth to this recording. But either the senior citizen group lost their phone in the water, or those kids upstream lost their phone in the water. Whichever party lost their phone, Nick, the 70-year-old that was apparently targeted for being the aggressor, had a snorkel and a pair of goggles so that way he can go ahead and find the phone. Now this man didn't have to go find the phone that was lost in the water between whichever group lost their phone. He heard about it, he wanted to do the nice thing and say, hey man, I brought a snorkel and a pair of water goggles. I'll go ahead and find this phone for this person. So he goes upstream to these kids, which I would believe is the kids that maybe lost their phone. And he put his face in the water, obviously breathing through his snorkel to obviously look in the water for this phone. How else are you going to go look for a phone in the water? Some people, if not a lot of people, their eyes cannot handle that type of water, especially with a lot of, let's say, bacteria, etc. going through the water. It's really going to irritate the hell out of your eyes. You're not going to be able to see anything. These kids apparently took it upon themselves, being drunk. A big group of fucking idiots, that is, calling this guy a sex offender and saying that apparently, and by apparently, I wasn't there, they started to record after the fact that he was apparently asking them for a little girl. Now, we've all seen the stupid, dumb fuck trends going on around, online, for instance. The people at the mall making, messing around with this one guy that just wanted to get his food and leave the mall. If I recall, they were messing with him, asking if he was looking for some little girl. Some shit like that. And the guy kept telling him, dude, fuck off me. Seriously, back away. But they would keep getting in his face, so the dude took out his gun, shot the dude in the stomach. Nick, however, was just using his snorkel and his water goggles to go look for a phone in the water to help either the kids, again, if they lost the phone, helping them out with the genuine heart that it seemed like he has, because it sure as fuck didn't seem like these kids had the equipment like this guy had. This guy obviously knew that, one, a phone is important, and two, becoming these dumb kids nowadays, a phone to them is everything. A lot of these kids nowadays can't live without their phone. And God forbid they lose their pictures, they can't get a hold of their mother in case something happens, or their parents are calling to make sure everything's okay, etc. What I think happened was when he was, when he put his head underwater to look for this missing phone, maybe one of the guys made a comment or one of the girls made a comment thinking, oh my God, he has his head under the water to go look at me and my bottom underneath the water being a creep. Well, the water is murky. I mean, that really wouldn't work out. It might be clear water up to this point until everybody started hopping out of their tubes, but anywhere Nick stepped, that water would become murky. So one of those kids more than likely shouted out, "Oh my God, what? You want to do what with a minor?" Just to try to be a jokester, just to be a fucking douchebag, generally like what that fucking group is. And I say that loosely because now everybody chimes in. Everybody's hating on the 70-year-old senior when he's just trying to do the right thing to find a missing, lost phone in the water. This guy's got a wife, so before I go further, because he's got a wife, because he has a son around the same age as those kids, and he doesn't seem like he's interested in any girl there that's underage or specifically way younger than him, and as married as he was, the longest he's been with his wife, tells me he wasn't looking for some fucking underage girl. So get fucked, cunts. There's no way you can just automatically throw that out there to play the victim and act, "Oh my God, look at me. He's looking for an underage girl." Again, kids do the most stupidest thing, and because alcohol played a major role in this, that's when they started ganging up on this guy. Because the dude started calling him a raper, a child molester, while Nick was walking away like, "I don't want to deal with these fucking dumb shits." Clearly they're drunk, because in the video you can see and hear his buddy on video and looking at their buddy passed out on his inner tube, and him saying out loud, "Dude slumped out on the river." Yeah, it sounds like he had way too much to drink, just like a bunch of you. So while Nick is walking away from these dumb fucks, chanting at him, making these verbal threats, and especially recording this video to where, well, we all know what happens on YouTube and social media. People will say one thing, their face is on the internet about this one person saying, "Oh my God, this guy raped me." And now this person's serving how many years in prison? 15, 25 years in prison? Obviously, Nick wasn't having any of it. Yes, where Nick fucked up was he went ahead and went back to the kid recording and shouting all this derogatory shit at him, defaming him, threatening him, went over to his tube, and it looked like he was pushing his tube. Didn't look like he had hands on this kid's legs or anything like that, but it's still, as the law states, it's physical contact. Just like when the kid grabbed his snorkel and goggles and decided to throw it in the river behind Nick. Remember, Nick was trying to find a lost phone for either the elderly group or the young kids group. So everybody goes ahead and scurries off their fucking inner tubes, and now they're all walking around in the water. They're all yelling at him. Everybody's yelling at him. This kid recording is still repeating that he's looking for little girls. Well, maybe Nick was saying, "Hey, I'm looking for a little girl's phone." Maybe these dumb fucks twisted his words and are making him look like the bad guy, making him look like a pedophile, a child molester. So they're surrounding him, they're talking about all sorts of shit, berating him, threatening him. At this point, his life is in danger. Yes, he is a big guy. All these young bucks all around him can easily beat the living fuck out of this guy. Easily. It is literally a sheep against the wolves, and we already know how that scenario always plays out. So he feels in his short pocket to make sure that, his knife is on him. It is now, how many people? 13 against 1? That is a lot of people. And if we know anything about drunk people, when they are drunk, when they have alcohol in their system or they are on drugs, they are invincible. You can't stop someone like that very easily. You mix that with young people, these teenagers, and they can do the most craziest shit ever against a full-grown adult. But you add 13 people to that are intoxicated, yeah, damn straight I'd be in fear of my life and grab my fucking knife at that point. So this guy, Nick, is just looking all around like, what the fuck's going on? I don't understand what's going on here. This guy's now probably suffering from mild PTSD at this point. His adrenaline probably shot through the roof. He probably has tunnel vision. Maybe he's having a slight heart attack. Whatever the case may be, this dude has been very calm during this entire interaction. He's not telling him to shut the fuck up. Because remember earlier, he put his hands on the kid's inner tubes, which is the first contact from Nick, and the second contact was the kid grabbing his snorkel and goggles and throwing it across the river. At that point, it's a 50-50 from both sides. Just like you can't grab somebody's phone that's recording. That's their personal property. You grab their phone. The law looks at it the same way as you grabbing that person, as you physically assaulting that person. So again, Nick did it first, then the kids did it second. That's a 50-50 right there. But everybody's ganged up around Nick. So now Nick's just looking around, just what the fuck's going on here? A separate tubing group comes up and they start telling him to just leave. Nick puts his hand in the air to let his tubing group know, "Hey man, what the fuck? I'm in danger here. Like, you guys need to come over here and assist this area, because obviously I'm surrounded by a bunch of dumb fucks that are 13 to 1 trying to kill me." Again, at this point, he's handling it very cautiously and calm. He's not berating these people. He's not said anything. Looking at his face in the video, he is not angered at all from what I can tell. He's just looking around frantically trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. And why are these kids saying that I'm trying to meet some little underage girl and calling me a sex offender and a rapist? Of course, Nick did what anybody else would do. He took out his pocket knife, unfolded it, and at that point, that is when the girl in the two-piece bikini assaults Nick. And I mean, not taking, let's say, his goggles and, his scuba shit out of his hand like the first kid did earlier. She straight puts her hand on him and shoves him. Then it looks like 3 of the boys went ahead and shoves this elderly 70-year-old man to the ground in the water on possibly sharp rocks. Now at this point, Nick understands that it's a big group against him. After she shoved him and these 3 boys pushed him to the ground, it's all fair game. He has the knife against a group of people that want nothing but blood. They don't give a fuck about Nick's life. They never cared about Nick's life. The camera doesn't pick up exactly after the girl in the two-piece bikini gives him a good push, a good shove, because that's when his knife is already out. He's already called it in his head, my life is in danger. So after the girl in the two-piece pushed him, camera pans away from them, the boys shove him, the glasses are knocked over from the blue one-piece swimsuit girl named Maddison. I would understand and try to speculate that he tried to, in self-defense with his hand, knock the glasses, basically slapping the woman, from first pushing him, but instead targeted the wrong person, which is why after the boys saw the knife in his hand, they quickly shoved him into the water, into the rocks. So while these boys have successfully knocked Nick into the water, Dante then punches Nick in the face, and then these boys start crowding around him and start slapping him and basically just assaulting the fuck out of this senior citizen that is just, again, originally trying to find a phone that was lost and just trying to be helpful. After these boys slap and punch him while he's down, literally kicking a man down. By the way, I will add a tidbit in here. Depending on what state you are in, there is such thing as no duty to retreat. So of course, let's say you're in a public place, you're walking around, there's somebody that's trying to harm you, whether they have a weapon or not, use their bare fists, and you deem it necessary to go ahead and defend your life, whether you're doing a bare fist against them as well, a knife, firearm, etc. That person's just swinging at you, you go ahead and let's say you punch them over the face. In self-defense, of course, and that person, your aggressor, hits the ground. If you stay there and walk away, call the cops, or you stand there to make sure that that person is all right, and you're not giving that person any more medicine, you're not beating their ass, you're in your legal right. You're okay, because that self-defense law is now in your favor. However, if you do like what these kids did, and you pop this person in the face, this person goes down, now you're beating the fuck out of this person, you're just hammering away at their face, you're breaking their ribs, you broke their arm, their leg, etc. You've already forfeited your rights. The law is no longer in your favor because you've just went above it. Now the table's turned on you, and now you are the aggravator. So these dumb fuck kids decide to just beat the fuck out of this guy while he's on the ground. Nick tries to get his bearings straight after being punched in the face and being slapped and shit by a bunch of these kids that swarmed him. He gets up, targets AJ. I'm going to guess that, well, Nick obviously, whether he blacked out and he's telling the truth, or he's lied this whole time and he targeted AJ because AJ must have been the one that dealt the damage last, or somewhere in between of them knocking him down, maybe AJ was the one that actually punched him in the face. Nick gets up and takes his knife and cuts AJ open from the bottom of his ribs down to his belly. Now, this is the part where I hate these videos, and I often try to find videos like this that are unedited because they will leave out gruesome parts that are very detailed that people like me and prosecutors and defense lawyers need to actually see so we can make a final judgment call of what actually happened in raw video. So after he cut open AJ, after the video was edited that part out, I can only speculate at these last few seconds that were taken out. Riley, the two-piece girl that first shoved him, must have already shoved him again. Nick quickly turned his attention to her and stabbed her in the side, which is why you see him in this next bit of the video that you saw, or that you've already seen, because obviously I've got gameplay footage over this. This next piece is when you see Nick again thrown in the water, literally probably kicked or punched to the face or whatever. Nick is now the second time knocked in the water. By this point you can tell that the 13 people here, the kids, maybe a couple adults. That's against Nick, which is 1. Nick obviously has his knife out. He's not playing any games when it comes to his personal life against 13 people beating the fuck out of him. It's not a game. Nick understands life over matter. He wants to survive this, and these kids don't give a fuck about his life. So anybody putting hands on him and anybody coming up to him, they haven't understood that he's got a knife. Now, I don't know why these dumb fucks didn't leave the area in the first place the second he pulled out his knife. Clearly, they're intoxicated. They're too intoxicated to notice the first second he pulled out a knife, because in the beginning of the video, when they were first approached by Nick, looking for this person's lost cell phone, and they're berating him, calling him a child molester, a rapist. One of the smart kids in this video said, "Hey guys, let's all just go home, man. Let's not mess with this guy. Come on, let's go." But they didn't listen, and they antagonized this guy. You can see Nick in the video with his eyes wide open. And we've all seen aggressive people. We've seen their faces scrunched to the point where they see red. They don't give a shit. But Nick's face, it's not scrunched. His eyes are wide open. He's in a shock, a literal state of shock, like what the fuck is going on here? At each time he stabs each one of these kids. So Tony, off camera, like everybody else, is still shoving Nick and fucking with this guy and antagonizing this guy. So Nick goes ahead and stabs Tony 2 times off camera. Then the next scene of the video is Isaac, again, being the antagonist, the attacker like all these other kids, literally shoves Nick, and Nick, obviously, a natural reaction, anybody would have this reaction when being shoved and threatened, stabs Isaac in the chest, sadly, fatally killing this young man. But you can see on the flip side, that's one less person that is antagonizing Nick and not going after him, because everybody's shoving him, they're punching him, they're slapping him. Nick obviously realized, again, I'll reiterate this, he's had enough. He understands now that his life is in danger. It's not just a bunch of kids that's been drinking on the river and just talking shit to him. They wanted his attention, they got his attention with, he came here and looked for a little girl, and he's a child molester, he's a raper. Part of the group you can hear is laughing their asses off because they're still drunk, they're still intoxicated, and they still haven't figured out what's going on with their buddies. They still haven't figured out that their buddies have been stabbed multiple times. Literally multiple buddies have been stabbed multiple times. While the other part of the group of these kids are freaking out because they came to the realization that their buddies have been stabbed, if not they themselves have been stabbed. Now, where Nick fucked up during the interrogation is he was not 100% truthful about those kids having a knife. They didn't have a knife. If they did have a knife, it wasn't on video. Who goes water rafting and ties rope on tubes and all this other type of stuff and does not have a knife? If I'm too young to have a firearm to protect myself, then I'm going to bring a knife, and my buddies, I'd hope, brings a knife too. Because we all want to be safe in this instance that something could happen like this. When I first saw this video, I'm thinking, oh my god, cops arrived at a knife stabbing scene, so it's some fucking maniac that's just floating on the river, stabbing a bunch of fucking innocent people. Yeah, let's get this motherfucker. When I started unveiling the video and looking at everything, I started realizing who the real antagonists were. Not antagonist, the antagonists. During the interview, when the investigator was tearing him apart piece by piece to figure out if his story and everybody else's stories matched between his group that he was with and all the other kids, he should have been 100% truthful. And again, I wasn't there, so I can't say what was and was not, because the video didn't show anybody having a knife unless they were in their pockets. When Nick first got arrested and the officers explained to him why he was being detained, Nick seemed really calm and collective about it. He didn't freak out. He didn't go, what the fuck, why am I being charged with this? Because this guy is in shock. You can tell in the video, both when the kids were constantly antagonizing this guy, shoving him, punching him, etc., to the point of his arrest. He's still collecting information. He's still trying to figure out what's going on. He's also probably thinking in his mind, this is not real. Like, what the fuck's going on here? Why am I being arrested? So back to the interrogation, Nick is being very compliant and open about a lot of stuff. And when they first showed him a picture of him, he's just like, what the fuck's going on? I didn't know they took a picture of me. Then he says, and helps with the investigation, which, you know, obviously, not knowing if it could or could not incriminate this, incriminate Nick, tells the investigator, well, you know, they had a lot of cameras out, so then you should take all their cameras, all their phones away, so that way you can see the video to see what the hell's really going on here. Because it sounds to me that this guy is in total disbelief after she found out and showed him the picture, and it's trying to get his memory back, and now he's going, okay, well then there obviously was phones out. So you should take all their phones so that way we can get to the bottom of this. When somebody's going through this type of scenario, it's called tunnel vision. You're not thinking straight. You're locked on one thing. You're fixated. you're literally not thinking straight. When cops go through this type of scenario, for instance, I don't remember the woman's name on YouTube, but she goes through different things in life where she goes through, like, let's say, the military boot camp to see how hard that is and to explain to her peers on YouTube, you know, what to look out for, how hard it is, blah, blah. She did a video with law enforcement where she did law enforcement's boot camp. And so the officer said, when you're chasing a suspect, it is a high risk moment and it's so adrenaline pumping that you have to take a lot of mental notes. So when, let's say, you apprehend a suspect, you have to immediately start jotting down each and everything that you can remember on that piece of paper in the incident report, because you cannot wait the next day or the next week. That does not work out. And so they went ahead and had her pull up in the vehicle to go find some guy that, and again, it's a training scenario. He had a blue, you know, one of those, I want to say an airsoft pistol, fully painted blue. And she said, hey, I need to talk to you for a minute. Guy said, nope, fuck you. She goes, hey, just come here real quick. And she's approaching this guy. And he goes ahead and pulls out a gun. He brandishes it, points it at this girl, and starts shooting at her, and then runs up how many flights of stairs? 4 flights of stairs. Now, she has to chase him with over 80 pounds of gear. Now, women are not as strong as men. Men are naturally stronger than women. So she's already getting winded halfway up these stairs to the very top. Now she's got to fend off her attacker. She's not already thinking straight. She's already shot through adrenaline. She's winded. She's freaking out. After that, they pull the attacker off of her, the training police, like these police officers that are in training to teach her this type of stuff. And they ask her, what can you remember? Do you remember anything? And she's like, I don't know. I can't remember what's going on here. Her entire mindset and her body has now reset. It went from tunnel vision and spiked adrenaline that is overdumping in her body, her endorphins going off left and right to the point where she doesn't know where she is. She doesn't know what's going on. So I can only imagine that Nick is going through the same thing, to where those boys were attacking him, beating the fuck out of him, why he pulled the knife, why he did this type of stuff. During the interview, Nick states that his whole life has now gone down the drain because of this incident. He also states that he obviously seen that when people who defend themselves against the attacker is often the ones with the role rehearsed back on the victim, and their life goes down the drain. So he's understanding the situation, and he has feared all of his years to the day of his life, till that day that it's happened, that God forbid this does not happen to me. And it looks like, oh look, I'm in the same situation because of these kids. He also, during the interview, states and specifically says, what about the 2 kids that had those knives on them? Did you ever find those kids? Have you found the knives? I took one of the knives away. Thank God, because that kid would have stabbed me. Now, why would he particularly give a specific of 2 kids having a knife? Remember what I said earlier. Nobody would go tubing without knives if they have rope and they tied the tubes together. Oh my God, guys, we're gonna get the tubes cut so that way, or the rope cut off the tubes so that way we can go ahead and deflate these tubes and put them in a vehicle or etc. Especially if they need those knives for something more bigger. Nick explains that he had to drag his wife out of the house, something that she didn't want to do, and that was going to be the best day ever of their lives, of just letting loose, just hanging out, you know, having a grand old time. And that on that river, it is private property from what he states, and that they have security, but their security needs to do better. So why did security, obviously now needs to be held accountable, like the rest of the adults there, are letting all these underage minors drink on their property? That's a serious offense right there. After the investigator leaves the room, which obviously it's a tactic that they use like many other tactics to see if the person, after the investigator leaves the room, obviously they're being recorded. Generally, people don't know they're being recorded in these interrogation rooms to find out if this person is the antagonist or if this person is truly the victim in all of this. And we've seen videos on YouTube, all of us have, looking at videos just like this, where they act innocent, they act scared and afraid. But the second the investigator leaves the room, the person would just mumble to themselves and talk to themselves, hell yeah, I shot that motherfucker, fuck that motherfucker, this and that, blah, blah, blah. No, Nick had a different approach. Nick was like, no. This is my life. It's now gone down the drain. The second the investigator leaves the room, Nick says, he puts his hands his head's in his hands and says, my God, why did they attack me? Stupid kids, stupid. Their parents don't know anything about them. They smoke, they drink, they do everything. And they pick on people. Hey, ding, 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 there it is. They're the aggressors. Nick already figured that one out. Then later states, oh God, God. Can't get anywhere without being attacked. So the officers go to Nick's wife's house, his and her house, to go ahead and search his vehicle because Nick says that he left his knife in there or something. And when they see this giant machete in his back seat, Nick's wife explains to the officer a little bit about Nick's psyche, a little bit about his psychology, what he's thinking in his brain all the time, how he feels, etc. He always carries it in his car. He's always afraid that somebody's going to get him. Well, I don't blame him. Look at the state of decay in this entire world. It's not just America. It's not just the US. A lot of us that watch YouTube all the time to check up on our current events, people that stab people in stores, the guy that drove the truck during New Year's in Florida that decided to run over a bunch of people and killed 10 of them. People in rage, like road rage incidents in like bumper to bumper traffic situations. You damn straight I'm going to have a weapon on me to defend myself in case they break my car window. And I got to reach behind and use that weapon to defend not only myself, but occupants if they're in my vehicle. So she further explains when the officer says, "What do you mean about people out to get him?" She says, "Well, the stuff about the news, people in road rage." So it sounds like Nick is pretty up to date about all the harmful things that happens in this country that he lives in. He's not letting anybody take his life nor his wife's life, because a lot of people that are armed or that are protectors, they know that they are the front line of defense, and they know to protect not only themselves but the people around them that are in danger against that aggressor or multiple aggressors, i.e. the kids that are 13 of them and against him, which is being one. So furthermore, his wife explains that he uses the machete when they go to South Dakota because they have property out there and that they have lots of wild animals out there. Now, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't bring a fucking machete just alone. I'd bring a firearm and several different mags. His wife explains that he does have medications, but they fail to realize or to break down just what medications Nick takes. We don't know if he has medications for his heart or if he has medications because he has an illness. We don't know this information. So at the point of this video, he is charged with one count of first-degree reckless homicide of Isaac because, the boy died. 4 counts of first-degree recklessly endangering safety for the, stab victims that he stabbed. And 1 count of battery for punching Maddison? Hold the fuck up. Let's take a step back here real quick. Now remember, Nick this whole entire time is discombobulated and trying to collect his thoughts, his bearings, trying to figure out why everybody is calling him a child molester, a rapist, and saying that he was, his intentions were going there to find a little girl. These guys know nothing about each other. Maddison is the one in the single-piece blue swimsuit. Now, of course, earlier in the video, I already fucking stated when he took out his knife, because everybody's putting their hands on him, they're in his face, they're threatening his life, 13-1. Riley pushed him first. She shoved him. That's first contact of actual physical assault. This guy doesn't seem like he wants to actually hurt women, but I mean, when your life's in danger, and there are men and women putting their hands on you, wanting to kill you, yeah, there's going to be a difference in change of mood there. So after Riley shoved him, he takes out his knife. Seems that Riley steps out of the frame of the video because obviously nobody wants to keep the video on target of what's going on. They want to record all their buddies having a blast, picking on this elderly guy that's 70 years old that sounds like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and speculating, again, because this was not on video, Riley might have actually shoved Nick a second time. That must have been when Nick went to go ahead and pop her in the mouth or slap her upside the head or punch her in the head to teach her a fucking lesson why it's not okay to go ahead and gang up on people, whether you're a man or a woman, but instead accidentally punching Maddison in the face, which causes the other group, after, notably yelling at everybody, "Hey man, he's got a knife," and then they go ahead and punch him in the face and shove him in the water and etc. I already went over these parts. Back to the charges that they specify. And then they later state that all counts included a modifier for use with a dangerous weapon. Again, anything can be a dangerous weapon. 13 of those people against one, that in alone is a dangerous weapon. Through the separate interviews that law enforcement had with these teen individuals, after the doctors fixed him up, brought him back to health, one of the kids states that he didn't even know that Nick had a knife. Clearly, because you weren't looking at his hands. Clearly, you were intoxicated with your buddies, being the aggressors, the wolves amongst the one sheep. Laughing, hollering, calling him a child molester, threatening his life that, hey, we're just going to call this random fucking guy a child molester, that he was looking for a little girl. that he's a rapist. So during the post-scene interview, many of Nick's peers expressed disbelief in the accusations placed on him. Everybody's shocked. He's just a very calm, caring guy. If I would have known what I know now, we would have not gone down that river. So obviously she explains that he's a very calm and caring guy. His peers, as in the people that have known him over the years, that's known him personally, not random people, not the people in the random group, the peers that know him personally. So if this guy's not a hothead, if he's not constantly pissed off, if he's always worried for his life, because we know when you trap somebody in a corner, they're cornered and it's their life against yours, and you're the aggressor, this person is going to do whatever it takes to defend himself. Another person in the interview said, I can't believe it because he's a very good person. A separate person said, I'm watching the news and I'm thinking he couldn't, he couldn't have done this. To me, he's a good guy. Other eyewitnesses that saw a different side of it said that he was very aggressive in trying to pull apart their tubes. A separate interviewer said, next thing I see is some poor boy being stabbed in the stomach, and that's when he just stabbed everybody. Yeah, no shit. I mean, when it's 13-1, fuck yeah, I'm gonna stab everybody. I can walk away all I want, and that's some pretty hasty water that I have to try to run through. Everybody got off their tubes. Now they're in my face. Now, Nick could have said, hey, back up. But at this point, again, he's collecting himself. He's trying to figure out what the fuck is going on here. And during the interview, again, he's still trying to figure out why he was being attacked, why he was being ganged on by all these kids. One of the interviewers was like, I carry my gun everywhere, but I figured I don't need my gun on the river. But now I feel like a piece of shit because I should have carried my gun that day. Yeah, and you would have killed somebody innocent too. The blood is on those kids' hands because they are the antagonists. They won't admit it and they don't have to. We've already have video evidence of this. Good thing everybody records nowadays. Now, during the ending of this video about the court hearing that has gone on for 2 years, Nick threw out some bullshit story saying that the boys tried to pull down his pants. It might have been true. Nick wasn't always on video because his dumb fucking kid was just recording all his friends' reactions. That's what people want on social media now these days. They want to show their reactions. They want to be the public of the spotlight. They got their call. They got their spotlight. One paid the price. That was their life. Sad to say, that's pretty fucked. But they were definitely attention seeking, and that's what they were doing. They were antagonizing Nick. They were begging for attention, and they got what they asked for. So was Nick's shorts pulled down? I don't know. One of them or a couple of them probably tried to pull down his shorts just to humiliate him even more. Besides calling him a child molester and a rapist and looking for a little girl, Nick knew and knows on the stand that he's in deep shit. He's in hot water. That's why he kept saying, I don't know. Can't blame him for that. If his attorneys, lawyers, whoever it was, told him, hey, the best thing to say is, I don't know, then that is what Nick is going by. Because he's trying to protect his life that's going to end, literally even before he reaches 90 years old in prison. All because a bunch of these fucking kids decided to go on tubing, on private property, drinking. Security did nothing about it. The adults around did nothing about it. They let these kids go ahead and drink and fuck with whoever the fuck they just wanted to. Doesn't matter if you're rich, doesn't matter if you're poor, because these kids decided to go ahead and do this. The kids started it first. They said that he was looking for a little girl and that he's a rapist. But one in particular thing that caught my ears in this courtroom video was this big fella at the stand. I don't know if he's a prosecutor. I don't know if he's the DA. I don't know. But this is what he said. One of the many things that I'll be grateful about when this is all done is that I will never have to hear again that the actions he took that day was the fault of these boys. Well, it's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. In the court's eyes, in the beholder of the aggressors that played a very important role on Nick's life being in prison, when Nick defended himself from these 13 individuals, that they will never have to hear Nick plea for his life again in court, blaming those stupid motherfuckers for causing all this dramatic problem on Nick. And I get it, yeah, their friend died. Trust me, I get it. A lot of people read the news all the time. They read the news, they watch it on the news, they watch YouTube videos, etc. I'm looking at all sorts of news stories all over the United States, in every single town, every single city, and every single state. And one of the news articles I couldn't get off my mind was 3 motorcyclists from a certain biker club on their way from Tombstone through St. David to go back to their biker club in Phoenix. And between Tombstone and St. David, Arizona, a drunk driver killed 3 of those bikers. Dumb motherfucker, dude. I can only guess it's a man that was drunk driving on his way back to whatever place he was going to. And it seemed like it was the judge during the appointing of the courtroom to this drunk driver. And he states, I am going to flood this courtroom for everybody. I'm going to bring everybody in this courtroom because not only did you kill 3 men, not only did you kill 3 men that rode motorcycles and that was a part of the biker club, but you also took 3 lives away that were fathers to kids and wives. You also took their friends away from not only people that are not in their biker club, but you took their lives away from their biker club brothers and sisters. So you bet your ass I'm going to flood this courtroom full of those people. And the only thing I could think of when I read that statement is a lot of them bikers don't play games. And they're not going to have enough guards to stop any of those bikers from jumping over that little wooden wall and killing the driver that took the life of their 3 brothers that night. Call me crazy, call Nick crazy, but he predicted it. Look at the company called USCCA. It's a gun insurance program full of lawyers that will protect you through tooth and nail in case you have to use your gun, God forbid, against an aggressor, against an attacker. Now, this all boils down to what the cops put in their statements when taking down everything that's happened. You could be the most law-abiding citizen and stop this aggressor that pulled a knife, a gun on you, that won't stop chasing you when you tell this person to back off. So you go ahead and turn around, pull your gun, and you shoot that person in self-defense. And even if a lot of the cops say it was self-defense and the eyewitnesses say it was self-defense, just one cop, it takes just one officer, because these officers have to play judge and jury and figure out what happened and then make the police report accordingly. It just takes one officer to go, nah, it looks like foul play. USCCA will drop your ass in a heartbeat. Does not matter when you've had them since you were 21 years old and you just now had to use your firearm when you are 70 years old and you have paid them billions of dollars, because the second the officer writes in his documentation, it looks like foul play, or however they call it, USCCA immediately gets that paperwork. They go, nope, 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 we're not defending you because now it looks like you're a criminal. Everything's dropped. They are no longer going to protect you. Instead of waiting for it to go to court to see what judge and jury plays out and if there was any cameras, if there was any eyewitnesses, to go ahead and clear up the murky water and show too that it was indeed justifiable. You're better off just paying your own lawyer, your own personal lawyer, and only paying your lawyer when you need that person the most. Not some fucking payment program where you have to keep paying them $15 or $100 a month just so they say they've got your back, and then out of nowhere it is written down for the first beginning as foul play, because the courts have to clear it up. They have to go through everything before they can see that it wasn't foul play in the first place. Now, I don't know if it's USCCA that is the only one that does this, or if it's every single gun insurance lawyer company that does the same type of shit that will quickly abandon you the second you have to discharge a round out of your firearm to protect yourself. And if the favors don't turn in your hands in the first place because some eyewitness says, oh no, the gun owner was the one that was the aggressor, when the gun owner clearly was not the aggressor, defending their life and the lives around them. So then any other gun company will just go, no, we're going to go ahead and disembark this, and we're going to go ahead and drop this because, we're no longer going to defend you in court because now you're the aggressor. We don't let criminals get through the bars. I see what they're doing, and I admire it, but I don't admire it until you go to court. You don't drop somebody before they go to court. That's a bunch of bullshit. It's just like Florida, California, and all those other home and auto insurance companies going, oh, there's a huge fire in California that burned 1,000 acres. We're going to go ahead and drop everybody's property, insurance and their car insurance. That's going to be a multi-billion-dollar payout. We're not going to do that. We're just going to quickly drop them. That shit should be completely illegal, and they should be sued for that. So what would I do if I was in Nick's shoes? Well, this is what I would do. The second they called me out and said that I am a pedophile, I'm looking for some little girl, and I'm a rapist, Hopefully, if I had my phone on me, which I always do, I'd quickly take it out of my pocket and start recording all their profanity and all their defaming me and all this other type of shit. And I would just cautiously approach them with my hand out, my cell phone in my hand, now giving my point of view of the video, going, whoa, 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 just hold on, hold on, let's just talk about this. That way on my video, it's my say against theirs. Anybody can delete their video from their side, and now it's his versus her side of the story. But now I'm recording, so this is going to clear up the shit real quick. So with my hand out, obviously not aggressive, I'm going to go, why would you guys say this, man? And if hopefully these dumb fucks that have been drinking finally shut the fuck up, I would say to you, why would you say this to me? Like, that's not something funny. That's not funny. You don't say that about somebody, even a random person. God forbid if you came across the wrong person, not me, the wrong person, they would have handled the situation a lot differently. You saying it, you would have gotten your ass kicked. But me, I just want to know why you would say that. That way I can go ahead and diffuse the situation, and if they already came to the conclusion, they gathered their senses, they shut the fuck up, they understood that the adult is talking, it's no longer a game, that I might have to call the cops on these kids, get them arrested because they're drinking illegally. That caught their attention. That'd make them shut the fuck up. Then I go about my day going, well, dude, it's so cool seeing your guys' inner tubes tied together and this and that. You guys been doing it for years? I see you got a lunch pail. You guys probably got food in there, right? Hey, listen, make sure you guys stay hydrated. It is hot. Even though you're in the water, you still need to hydrate. You need to drink some water. Whatever I can do to defuse the situation, become friends with them, and just get the shit over with. But these kids nowadays, they are out of control. And Nick called it. Their parents don't know these kids. And I blame the parents for this because the parents are at fault. So we can say that their parents are for the blame of this as well. We still don't know who supplied the kids the alcohol, which made these kids decide to be the aggressors in the first place. Security. So now that's another good one. I just thought of this. So now if they have, well, let's say, a place where security sets up, they go ahead and make sure that the kids' inner tubes are safe, the kids look safe, everything is okay. However, security checks out these people. Security should be responsible for going through their lunch pails, their bags, etc. that's on them to make sure that these kids don't have anything illegal on them. Weed, alcohol, etc. God forbid these kids have a firearm on them and they're so fucking stupid that they go ahead and start popping off shots at, random inner tube people because, well, let's say these kids, as they are aggressors, let's say one of these kids or a couple of these kids have a firearm and a separate group of inner tubers, are floating by, accidentally bumps into these kids and like, hey man, what the fuck, man? Fucking piece of shit, and start shoving the other group's inner tubes away from these kids. So these kids get pissed off. The adults that are just trying to pass by and enjoy their time, senior citizens at least, are like, hey dude, you guys, like, look, what the fuck, man? We bumped into you on accident. No need to get fucking pissed off, bro. These kids get pissed off, pull out their guns, and start shooting at these fucking adults, or at least brandishing a weapon. That's a serious fucking problem there. We've all seen the biker videos on YouTube. We've all seen how big biker groups control places. That's how it is. And they will tear up a car instantly. Car doesn't like a big group of bikers going by, so the car honks at them, flips them off. So these bikers go ahead and get off their bikes and start trashing the vehicle and threatening the automotive person's life, the driver's life. Or how about the riots years ago? Big groups of people, bloodthirsty, just wanting to kill people, and people have died, people have been hospitalized. It wasn't just the officers, it was other people, especially the young boy that was waiting for his friend out of state to text him to go, hey man, I'm here at your door. Great, well I just convinced my dad that I was going to sleep on the couch. So now I'm going to go ahead and go out the front door and go out, go through all these crazy riots and check out the town, the city. Well anyways, that boy got shot. He passed away. All because of the rioting and everything else. Parents do not keep track of their kids all the time nowadays. Look at Harambe. That fucking poor gorilla died because the woman was not taking care of her kid. Kid fell into the enclosure and now they had to kill him. God forbid a parent walks down the street with their kid. Their kid sees a dog, it's aggressively barking, should tell the kid not to go near that dog. But the kid wants to be a dumb fuck and just jump over the fence, and now the dog is attacking the kid. Now the dog has to be put down. You crossed into my territory. This is my domain and you jumped the fence. So of course I'm going to take precaution. I don't know who the fuck you are. I don't know why you're here. I'm letting my owners know that I'm barking. That is not a normal bark ferociously at you until you came into my territory. I think you're a threat to me and my owner. So I'm going to handle you accordingly. To the mother that had the child Isaac that passed away, I'm sorry for your loss. But your son Isaac should have had a better choice in friends. And Isaac, like those kids, should not have been drinking. I would hope that Isaac was the one that told everybody else there amongst his friends when they were berating this elderly senior citizen that was 70 years old, calling him out and talking all this type of shit. I would hope that Isaac was the one, true at heart, to say, hey guys, let's not do this, man. Let's just go home, man. Let's not talk crap to this guy. That's not cool. May Isaac rest in peace. To the rest of the kids that got stabbed, I hope that they remember this occurrence every single fucking day of their lives, because they know what they did, they know what they caused, and they know proof from that video of what happened. And I hope that my video breakdown shed some light on this situation, even though the books may be closed on it, and Nick is now spending till 90 years old in prison. I hope that these investigators come across my video and shed some more light on there and start thinking, you know what? Let's actually take a look at this a little bit differently. I think we just locked up a man that was innocent, that was not acting aggressive, that his facial expression shows that he is not aggressive. His eyes are wide. He's constantly looking around. He probably got mild to severe PTSD from this, and that he's panicking, freaking out, and that these kids really were the aggressors. Because going through the comments on that video, there are comments saying, my dad always taught me not to mess with a stranger because that stranger may not have anything to lose in life and may kill you. My dad taught me never to mess with strangers because you will meet your match, etc. All these sorts of comments. These kids were laughing and hollering and enjoying it and berating this guy in the first place in the beginning when they were recording, but they sure as fuck weren't laughing anymore. And it's sad, it really is, when you see a bunch of kids, 13-1, aggressively going after a 70-year-old senior citizen. I will never live that down, and I will keep saying that. I will never use that lightly. Think if it was some young buck 20 or 30-year-old that came across these kids looking for someone's fucking lost cell phone, and out of nowhere these kids pull a prank on this 30-year-old that has actually fought before and is not afraid to fuck around to defend his life and his title. Let's say this person is a father of 4 kids that's never touched his fucking kids inappropriately and is the type of person that will fucking kill a child molester. And he has his snorkel and his mask on to go underwater looking for this phone, and these kids out of nowhere targets this 30-year-old saying, oh my god, look at this child molester. What? He's a rapist. He's a raper. He just asked if he could find some little girl around us. And out of nowhere, this father pipes the fuck up and actually beats the fuck out of these kids. Doesn't have a knife. He is serious about this shit because he's not fucking around. They now just shunned the title of this father. His face is on video and he sees it for the rest of his life. Claimed to be a fucking child molester and a rapist. No, that father is going to think that through accordingly and start taking action.